All right, we're at FarmTech 2017 here in Edmonton, joined by Wade McAllister of Innisfail, Alberta, and Scott Keller of New Norway, both malt barley growers, and both on a panel here at FarmTech talking about achieving malt standard. And Scott, you spoke about consistency. That's really what it's all about. Not necessarily getting the biggest yields, but consistently reaching that malt standard.
Yeah, so malt has such a premium over feed, and the name of the game is consistency. So if you can, if there's an industry standard of achieving malt, let's say 70% of the time, the other 30% is going into feed. Well, that's a big discount, right, on those bushels that don't make malt. Maybe $2 a bushel, maybe as much as $3. And that's the difference between making good money and definitely losing money. So if you're only getting malt half the time, well, it's a pretty daunting thing to figure it. It's a big gamble. So on our farm, we've been able to achieve malt over 90% of the time, and there's just a few things I think we do a little different than the guys that are maybe getting it half the time. So.
How about on your farm, Wade, in terms of reaching malt, and maybe take us, Scott eventually too, but take us through some of the things that you guys do to consistently get malt?
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely the most profitable crop on our farm the last couple of years, even over canola. Those two crops are just like rotation crops on our farm. We dedicate ourselves to growing the best malt barley in the world, right? So a couple things that make us consistent at growing malt is both of us do have grain dryers. We do start into our malt early on in the year, straight cut it, so we don't have to put it in swaths with the unreliable weather of rain. Once you put it in that swath and it gets rained on, your chances are pretty much shot, right? So so drying the grain, straight cutting it, good fungicide program, high seed rates, and good quality storage at the end to put it in before you ship it.
Yeah, I can just echo some of the similar things. We've been soil testing religiously for quite a number of years, and actually been in a RealAgriculture fertilizer plan for the last 7 years now. So it's helping balance our nitrogen levels in the soil, and then means we're keeping our protein levels in check. We've been able to control a bit of lodging, I would say, with it, but certainly not 100% of the time. So fungicide, yeah, it works in malt barley. It's going to work every year. If there's one crop you're going to bank on spraying a fungicide on every year, it's malt barley, ahead of canola, ahead of wheat. And I'm always surprised when I hear stats that there isn't more guys spraying their malt barley with a fungicide. It blows my mind, because we've been doing it for 10 years on our farm now.
I just want to add to that, especially with the risk of fusarium coming into Alberta. I mean, there is no, we can't afford to get that, right? So by spraying that crop, you definitely lower your risk, right?
I don't know if either of you guys have mentioned seeding rates yet. That probably is, or did you mention that? Okay, sorry. That's a critical factor as well, I guess, in terms of getting that uniform crop.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about that yesterday. I mean, a minimum 150 pounds an acre just to get that even ripening rate at the end. You keep those tillers from coming up late, and that's the reason why we can straight cut, because we don't have to worry about those green ones in there, right? And then if we do run it through the grain dryer, usually those will shrivel up and just maybe turn into some dockage.
Yeah, just to expand on that, knowing your 1,000 kernel weight, it's really important. Barley can vary a huge amount in seed size, and I don't know, we've been seeing seed sizes getting up into the high 40s and low 50s. So to think that, well, we always seed it at 90 pounds or whatever that number is, it's just not even close to a heavy enough rate anymore if you want to try to mitigate the number of late tillers that you have and add to that even maturity.
Yeah, definitely there's a cost to that, right, by seeding the higher rate, but in the end, you get that $2-3 more. It's huge.
You guys are ahead of me on my questions. I was going to ask about the cost. Most of these things, buying a dryer, applying fungicide, higher seeding rate, adds cost. How do you figure out the economics in terms of aiming for that malt and what it's worth paying up front?
Well, cost, that's easy. That's just figuring out your return on that investment. So if you're not getting malt barley ever, and you can start, well, that's a huge, that grain dryer, that handling, like, okay, you spend, I've talked to a number of guys now about that are saying, oh yeah, I'm putting a dryer up, especially after the year we've had ours for over 20 years, and that thing has paid for itself 10 times over. It's the most utilized and efficient piece of equipment on the farm, hands down. If I got to put 30,000 into it for more storage or to just make it less labor intensive, I'll spend that all day because I can get it back. Like, wouldn't to spend that on a combine header or on upgrading a tractor. Well, you're going to spend more money and you're not going to see that return like you would with a grain dryer. Like, everybody growing malt barley in central Alberta, I would say, should have. You have to have a ton of combine power. So grain dryer is a lot cheaper to run that. And on our farm, we just plan to use it all the time. We don't wait until the harvest has gotten away from us so far that now we have to use it. We just plan to use it, take that barley off when it's just under 18, get started there. Usually it's about 15 by the time we're done all the barley. Dry it down to 13, cool it off, put it into some kind of temporary or permanent storage until the malt companies call for it.
Yeah, and then the straight cut headers, right? That was the next thing, right? So yeah, they definitely do cost a lot of money, but you need your straight cut header to do your wheat, right? Straight cut the wheat, and now even with these new canola varieties, so we started this year straight cutting some canola. So expensive header like that, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cost up front, but the amount of money that they make you at the end of the day, I mean, there's just no question.
How about from the marketing perspective and the relationship that you build with the buyer then, in terms of if you are consistently reaching quality, that I guess gives you the upper hand in terms of making those sales and knowing that you're going to have a market for it?
Yeah, so since the CWB is no longer around, we're able to sell this barley and deliver it directly to the maltster, right? Before you would market it and a truck would come pick it up and you never knew where it was actually ended up. So being in there, delivering it yourself, meeting these guys one-on-one, developing that relationship, it's huge, and earning their trust, and if they ever, reject you, it's not their fault, and it's not your fault. It's just the way it worked, and you don't give them shit, and don't get trouble at them, and there's always next year, and there's no reason to get mad at them.
Yeah, it's marketing your malt barley is, I think it's a little different than other grains because it's not truly a commodity anymore.
It's a specialty crop.
Yeah, it's a specialty crop, a niche market, whatever you want to call it, but it's certainly not a commodity anymore. To draw acres in for a long time, even in the wheat board eras, the malt companies had to get smart and they had to get more barley acres secured, so they offered production contracts with guaranteed minimum prices even when the pool was still around, and after that it's turned into like with act of God, so there's no risk pricing involved. Like out of the dollars, if it's a third of our acres, maybe it's 40-45% of our net income off the farm, and it's secured with an act of God contract. So if we don't get it on a few tons or all of it, let's say the hail, right? Everybody's always worried about forward pricing and having to buy a contract. Oh, well, that doesn't exist with malt barley. So it's just another reason why you'd want to grow it on your farm, just to mitigate risk. And then you've got the rest of your stuff like your canola and your wheat and your pulse crops. So it's and the marketing aspect, getting to know your maltster, getting to know your buyer, developing that relationship, and it helps you. They've got a couple hundred guys they deal with, and if you're an easier guy and you're getting more face time with them, and that it goes a long way. And we got lucky enough after the wheat board went away to we had a brewer in the States, Lagunitas Brewing, and they were interested in dealing with on a contract with a certain few amount of farmers with raw malt, and I was lucky enough to be one of those guys. And what it's done is it's an established, so we're Chinook Arch growers, and it's established a multi-year contract, which gives a lot of price certainty for both sides, for the maltsters, for the brewers, and for the farmers, where we can put barley in and know it's going to be a profitable crop for not just this next year, but 2-3 years down the road. And some of our guys, what they've done with this certainty is they've upgraded their grain handling systems. They've put dryers in. They've added more storage just to produce a better quality product, right? So, and that with them doing that one thing, it's happened out. There's more farmers with raw malt that have multi-year contracts. So it's really changing the whole dynamic of growing. Malt barley is not a commodity.
Well, this has been a good conversation, guys. Lots of fun. Thank you for taking the time, Wade and Scott.